So today we have Amanda Shurtleff, and she is the Associate Director of Academic Advising, Records and Registration Services for Ringling College of Art and Design. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, it's the time of the year where it's really busy for you. You're seeing a lot of new students coming in, figuring out their schedule. What is it like typically for the new student week?
Well, New Student Week is crazy busy, and kind of the cool thing is a lot of the parents are here with the students because they're getting them moved in, so we get to meet the parents and the students, and they have a ton of questions because it's their first time for most of them being on a college campus, and they might be a little bit nervous. So kind of our role here is to kind of help them, get them, going on the right direction, make sure they're in the right classes, and kind of help them get off on the right foot so they have a good start to the semester.
Great. Now, do most students connect with you prior to the start, like once they're admitted to school or once they're on campus?
It's a mix.
Okay.
So there are some students who will reach out to us as soon as they're admitted. They're so excited to get the process going. And then there's some that will wait and they'll kind of get started and won't connect with us until afterward.
Okay.
And I like to meet with the students like right away as soon as they're ready because I like to meet them, get to know them. I feel better about it because then I feel like they are, connected,
Right.
Which is so important for a new college student. Studies have shown that once they make those connections early, that they're more likely to be successful. So I like to meet them.
Yeah, great. And what about returning students? What's the process like for a returning student? Do they pretty much go off on their own because they're at this point they've been through it, they're familiar with it, or how does that work?
Most of the time, the thing with the returning students is we're meeting with them like crazy at the end of the semester.
Okay.
So like April, May, and
Okay.
getting their schedule set. And then they go off and enjoy their summer.
Okay.
And then sometimes they'll come back early and they'll also meet with us, but I would say not as frequently as the new student. And if they're meeting with us, it's usually because maybe they had a change of heart for a class. Maybe they don't want to take a certain class anymore, they want to switch it for another class. Or perhaps they've been waiting on a class to open up and it finally opens and they want to get into it. So those are the times we're typically meeting with the returning students before the semester starts.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. As a parent, and I have a lot of parents who listen to the podcast, what role does the parent play in all of this? I know, at some point we need to transition our students into being more independent. As an academic advisor, is it kind of no and taboo for a parent to be there with their student in the process, or it's okay in the beginning? Like what do you think is a healthy mix?
I think it's definitely okay in the beginning.
Okay.
Because it's such a new journey for the students, and you want to make sure as a parent that they're being well taken care of, so that when you leave, whether you're getting in your car and driving away or flying on a plane away, that you can feel confident that your child's in a good place and settled. So I think in the beginning, for a new student, I welcome it.
Okay.
I think, as the student gets more comfortable and a little bit more independent, you might see less and less parent involvement, but we always welcome our parents at the Ringling campus, and I think some of it honestly does depend on the school too.
Okay.
So every school is a little different in how they approach parents. I can just speak from that Ringling perspective that we really do welcome parent involvement with our students. But it's a fine line, because by the time they hit senior year, you do want them to be independent and doing things on their own, because then eventually they're going to graduate and get a job and be on their own. So I think it's a balance, but in the beginning, I think having parent involvement is a good thing.
Okay, great. And so we know students, for the incoming students, should see you either soon after they're accepted and they made the decision, or once they step foot on campus. Now looking ahead to second semester, what's a good time of the year to see you for the second semester?
So I always joke with my students, I think this is like an easy way to remember it, but at least you should come see us to plan ahead for your future schedules around Halloween for the spring schedule, and around spring break for the fall schedule.
Those are easy to remember, Halloween and spring break.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the reason for that is around Halloween is when we typically launch the spring schedule.
Okay.
So the student can come, we can take a look at the schedule. It's before it gets really busy.
Right.
And so that gives them time to really thoughtfully plan out a good schedule that they're confident with. And then the same thing for spring break. So that's around the time that the fall schedule will come out. So I'd say before or after spring break. You come in, we'll take a look at it and plan ahead for that future fall semester.
Okay. Can you remember back to your academic advising experience in college?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like?
Very different. So when I went to school, I came to orientation. They handed me a huge book.
Uh-huh.
They called it a bulletin,
Uh-huh.
which is like a catalog, and they were like, "Here you go." So I went to a very different type of school than Ringling, very, very big school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those situations where, you know, we didn't have as much hands-on advising there as we have at Ringling.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to say I had a bad experience, but I think I personally like the more hands-on approach with academic advising, because it's shown time and time again that it's helpful for students to make them successful.
Yeah.
So, and to have that connection with the school and to feel involved and to know that somebody cares about them and they're more than just a number.
Yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you give to parents if a parent is listening in terms of academic advising, and, you know, from your perspective and your experience?
So let's see. So for a parent, I would say I think it's great to ask your child questions. You know, like what type of classes they're going to be taking, and how heavy their schedule might be, and are they comfortable with their workload? Do they like how their classes are, you know, scheduled in that weekly grid? Like, do they have too many classes on one day? Is that going to be enough time? I think to have that type of involvement, the parent asking the student those questions is great, because sometimes maybe the student hasn't thought of those things, and then the parent can say, hey, maybe you should go talk to your academic advisor if you haven't already done that. But it also keeps the parent involved, because in high school it's different, right? You know, you get a report card, the parent has to sign it or initial it. You don't have that in college. So it does, you rely on that communication with your student to get the information. So.
And what advice would you give new students coming in, or
I would
or
say,
in their senior year moving forward?
Yeah, I would say for a senior in high school looking to go to college, you want to be a sponge. You want to absorb everything. You want to ask lots of questions. No, there are no silly questions, because this is such a new thing, and you want to make sure you've done all your research, and not to, you know, try not to feel self-conscious about that, because this is a big decision. Wherever you go to college is like the next 4 years of your life. It's a really big deal that's going to, you know, impact you going forward in the future as an adult. So I'd say ask the questions, visit the schools you're interested in going to, see where you feel comfortable at, because that's a really important thing.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. It's been a joy talking with you
you
and having you as my son's academic advisor, and
Thanks.
having this interview.